Our Supreme Teacher Generated Bodhicitta and Other Topics by Jamyang Khyentse Chokyi Lodro. As regards our Supreme, Compassionate Teacher, the Sutra of Repaying Kindness says that at some point, in the distant reaches of beginningless time, when he was an ordinary person possessing all the fetters, he fell, through the power of karma, into the hell realm called fiery carts. There he became a strong man who, together with a companion, was made to pull a cart containing the hell guardian bull-headed Abang. When his companion was so worn out that he was unable to pull the cart, the strong man said to Abang, "Have some compassion for him." This so enraged Abang that he struck the strong man in the neck with an iron trident and killed him. This purified the negativity of 100 eons, and he was freed from the hell. A long time later, he became a potter's son called Bhaskara in the south of Jambudvipa, and felt such intense devotion to the Buddha Mahasakyamuni that he offered him a cupful of soup and 5 cowries, and made the aspiration that Tigens, O Sagata, may I and others have a form. With this, he first set his mind upon supreme awakening. The Sutra of the Fortunate Eon says, "In a former life, when I had a lowly status, I offered some soup to the Tathagata Sakyamuni and first set my mind on supreme awakening." This is how he first generated bodhicitta. Then, for the gathering of the accumulations, the basic vehicle considers that the first incalculable eon lasts from the time he was the potter's son, and Mahasakyamuni came into the world until the age of the Tathagata Rastrapala. During this time, he venerated 75,000 Buddhas. During the second incalculable eon, from the time he was the Brahman's son, who offered 7 blue Atpala flowers to Dipakara, until the time of the Sagata Indradvaya, he venerated 76,000 Buddhas. During the third incalculable eon, from the time he was a king who gave offerings to the Sagataksimankara, and constructed a stupa for his remains until he became a renunciant, and generated bodhicitta before Buddha Kasyapa, he venerated and delighted 77,000 Buddhas, it is said. The treasury says that the first incalculable eon lasted from the time of Sakyamuni until that of Ratnasikhi, the second until Dipamkara, and the third until Vipassvan. Then the Buddha spent 100 eons creating the causes for the excellent physical signs. When he was the son of a Brahmin, he stood on one leg before the Buddha Pusya, who was absorbed in meditative equipoise on the fire element, and circumambulated him for 7 days. He offered praise with the verse that begins, "Leader of beings, there are no," he thus gathered 9 eons worth of accumulations. Then, after 91 further eons, when the Buddha Kasyapa came to the world, the future Buddha was the son of Ibrahim, who took him as his guru. Having thus created the causes for the physical signs, he became what is known as a bodhisattva of certain status. Having perfected the causes for creating the excellent physical signs, he was born into Sita as Svetaketu as a bodhisattva, with one further rebirth. Then he became Siddhartha in Jambudvipa, a bodhisattva in his final birth with that physical support. At dusk he tamed Mara at the Vajra seat. At midnight he settled in meditation, and at dawn he actualized the Vajra-like samadhi. According to the Mahayana tradition, the first incalculable eon corresponds to the first bhumi of aspiring conduct. The second incalculable eon corresponds to the second to seventh bhumis, and the third incalculable eon corresponds to the remaining stages up to and including the 10th Bhumi. The Great Commentary on the 8,000 Verses explains 33 incalculable eons. Concerning the inception of the incalculable eons, the Compendium of the Great Vehicle says, possessing the strength of goodness and aspiration, having a stable mind and progressing exceptionally, the Bodhisattva begins the process that lasts 3 incalculable eons. When these 4 factors are obtained at the beginning of the path of accumulation, that is said to mark the beginning of the incalculable eons. Then, as Prince Viryakaran, the son of King Vijaya, he received teachings from the Tathagata Arskanda, and by venerating the Buddha and his entourage for 660 million years attained the first Bhumi. For the second incalculable eon, at the time of King Handsome appearance in Golden City, the teacher was the merchant Prayanabhadra, who received teachings from and venerated the Tathagata Ratnanga for 1,000 years. By thus gathering the accumulations, he actualized the 7th Bhumi during the third incalculable eon, when he was Brahman's pupil named Kumaramega. In the vicinity of the lotus palace of King Jitari, he offered 5 Atpala flowers to the Sagata, Dipamkara. He then spread out his golden hair like a mat upon the ground, and pledged, "If you do not grant me a prophecy of future awakening, I will emaciate myself." The Tathagata placed his feet upon the hair, issued a prophecy, "In future you will become the Buddha known as Sakyamuni." At this, the future Buddha was overjoyed, and levitated to a height of 7 palm trees. He actualized many hundreds of billions of samadhis and reached the 8th Bhumi. Thereafter he took many further births as Sakra, Sunetra, and so on, always working for the welfare of sentient beings, until finally, at the time of the Buddha Kasyapa, when the human lifespan was 20,000 years, he became a Brahman's son who served many Buddhas and gathered the accumulations for an incalculable eon. He thereby actualized the 10th Bhumi. Through the Vajra-like samadhi at the end of the continuum of the 10th Bhumi, he thoroughly eliminated the obscurations, together with their habitual tendencies, with no possibility of their return. The perfect elimination. And by gaining the wisdom that knows the nature of noble things, and the things themselves in all their multiplicity, the perfect realization, he thus gained great awakening with the nature of the 3 kayas, the Sambhogakaya as the consummate benefit for oneself, the Nirmanakaya as the consummate benefit for others, and the Dharmakaya as the support for both. The nature of these 3, or the realization of the Dharmadhatu of twofold purity inseparable from immaculate qualities, is then the Svabhavikaka, as the ornament of realization says. The Svabhavikaka of the sage has the nature and the character of all the aspects of total purity, when immaculate qualities are one. And concerning the one whose major and minor marks are resplendent in great arcanistha, since the one with 32 signs and 80 minor marks enjoys the Mahayana, this is said to be the sage's enjoyment body Sambhogakaya. Concerning the uninterrupted activity to benefit the infinite sentient beings to be tamed, the kaya that brings benefit impartially to beings in various ways, for as long as existence itself remains, is the sage's unending Nirmanakaya. In this way, the Supreme Teacher, the Lord of Sages, carries out what are classed as his 12 most important deeds within this realm. The Sublime Continuum says, he manifests birth, and then departs from the Tusita realm, enters the womb and is born. He masters artistic disciplines, enjoys the company of queens, renounces the palace, practices austerities, arrives at the seat of enlightenment, conquers the forces of Mara, perfectly awakens, turns the Dharma wheel, and passes beyond sorrow. These are the deeds he reveals throughout holy and pure realms, for as long as existence endures. The turning of the first wheel of Dharma took place in Varanasi. The second, intermediate turning occurred at Vulture's Peak Mountain. The final turning of the Dharma wheel took place in Shravasti and elsewhere. That these turnings occurred simultaneously is suggested by the exposition of intention, which says, the singular and engaging Vajra word, which is non-conceptual and unerring, takes on various aspects, according to the dispositions of disciples. The first council took place in the Nyagroda cave, which was seen to be sufficiently secluded. The second council was convened when the monks of Vesali were practicing 10 fundamental transgressions. Asoka acted as the patron for the Arhat-yasas. In Vesali's temple of Kasmapuri, 700 Arhats assembled, rejected the 10 transgressions, and compiled the teachings. The third council took place at the Kusana monastery in Kashmir, under the patronage of King Kaniska of Jalandhara. The elder Arhat by the name of Sima gathered 500 Arhats, including Pranika, 500 Bodhisattvas, including Vasumitra, and 500 ordinary Panditas, and together they established the 18 schools as authoritative and compiled the teachings. Undivided, without beginning, middle, or end, non-dual, beyond the 3, stainless, and non-conceptual, the nature of the Dharmadhatu, which is empty, is seen by the yogin and meditative equipoise. As there is no one in this world more learned than the victorious one, and the highest reality is not known fully except through omniscience. Therefore, do not tamper with the sutras which the Rishi himself set out. To do so would spoil the sage's tradition and harm the sacred Dharma. The 5 disciples of the first retinue were Ajnatakandinya, Asvajit, Badrika, Vaspa, and Mahanuman.